Hello YouTube and welcome to Track Dave. It's been 8 months since my last video upload where I was just starting to build this car, and actually I've now finished. I tried to video as much as possible, but to be honest, videoing stuff makes it take 3 times as long, and sometimes when you just get your head down and want to get a job done, the camera sort of gets in the way. Some of the trickier jobs, it just becomes a hindrance and you just want to get on and get the job finished. So I've got some footage that I'll sporadically throw into this video, so you can kind of see the sort of stuff that went along the way. But yeah, it's now finished, and I took it out for its first successful road test drive today. I say first successful because a couple of weeks ago it went out for its first unsuccessful road test drive, where I hadn't actually realised that where I've had to extend one of the lambda sensors for the new exhaust, it was resting on the new exhaust manifold. So as soon as that got warm, it burnt through, shorted it out, blew a fuse, which happened to be the same fuse that runs the ECU. So the car thought that the immobiliser wasn't working, and I was out on the main road. I pretty much just changed into second gear and it cut out, and had to get towed back to the house. So that hurriedly needed to be fixed before it went off to Blink Motorsport to be mapped the next day. That was a bit stressful, but it only took me about 2 hours to find the melted wire, which was that was fun. But today's test was a lot more successful. No issues really, except for realising that the steering wheel was a bit too close to me with the Boss that I had on the wheel this morning. I've swapped over to this smaller one. New race team name. Got all our switch panel in, so obviously did the video on how to wire in this kill switch, but we've now got the fire extinguisher in as well. I've moved the horn over to here because I didn't want to have the clock spring on the steering wheel. Dummy button at the moment if I want to put something else in. The radio did used to be there, but I've now got that on the steering wheel. Accessory switch, which turns on all of my 5-volt sockets for various different bits and pieces, GoPros, rear view camera, without the ignition switch needing to be on. Cold feed, which blows these tiny little fans here, which probably will eventually get updated for something, but the idea is just to get some air moving when you're sitting in a queue waiting to go out and there's no wind. You can at least get something blowing. Heat for the little T7 Designs heater that I've got down in the passenger side. Heated screen, which we've now got fitted, and the rain light, which is just hooked up to the third brake light. Also got the front and rear facing GoPro start and stop buttons from GoPro remote. They're really handy. And underneath here I've got a quad lock with wireless charging case, so that when we're out and about we can get Harry's lap timer on there and see what's going on. One issue I have got, you can see from my perspective here, I can't actually see the speedo or the rev counter because the seat's been moved back and down quite far with the steering wheel in. I can't really see what's going on here, so I think I'm going to have something probably just about here with at least speed on it. It'd be nice if I could get a lap timer built in, so I've been looking at the AIM Solo 2, which I think would fit quite nicely just here. Good view through that window, and can plug it into the OBD and get the revs on there as well, so we can have the shift lights up and down the side, which would be pretty cool. Let's have a bit of a look around, shall we? So see the full cage is in now. I've got my super expensive FIA approved padding in there. Down here, I mentioned it earlier, we've got T7 Designs heater plumbed in, and the cables for the electrical cutoff and the extinguisher through there. relays there for the heated windscreen, lifeline plumbed fire extinguisher there. The hard top is fitted, so you see the brackets down the back there, and then central bracket at the top here, which is all that holds it on at the moment. I've just run some generic bubble seal around the waist strip that runs around the back to try and seal that off, and shoved a load of butyl in down in the corners to try and stop it from dribbling and draining the water in down to where the factory seals used to send it. And then these are just the soft top seals that I've cobbled together and screwed into the roof, which seem to do a half decent job at keeping the water out. Then on the side here we've got plug for new helmet radio, so that's going to carry the microphone feed, which is built into the helmet. On the steering wheel I've got my push to talk there, and then down on the side here I've got a little headphone jack for a cheap set of headphones that I'm going to have. Little one in-ear headphone in one ear coming out the bottom of the suit and plugging in there. I basically just hacked up the standard dash to get it to fit with this new updated safety devices cage, which has actually got the two bars, so it's not a dash dodger like their original cages. It actually goes down the back, replaces the crosscar beam that was on the Mazda dashboard. So I've kind of hacked up the Mazda dash, taken out as much weight as I can, and then bracketed everything back to that new roll cage beam that runs across, so it's all nice and solid now, bolted down into the side of the tunnel either side, and then just using the Mazda original fascia plate, mounted all the kill switches and everything off of that, so that's all pretty solid. And on the drive out today it wasn't rattling like a complete bastard, so that's good news. The car's still road legal because I want to be able to drive it to and from events. I haven't got anywhere to store a trailer. I don't have a trailer license, so that would be another big cost and something I want to try and avoid, so it's got to stay road legal. So I've still got my indicators, wipers, headlights, all the MOT stuff, so I've got my headlight adjusters, hazards, horn, all that sort of stuff. MOT's booked for Friday next week, so fingers crossed we should be okay for that. I've spent so much time underneath this car that I'm fairly confident. We did have a couple of track days booked for mid-March, but obviously with the situation that's ongoing at the moment, those have both been cancelled. One of those was at Snetterton, where we were hoping to get the car power tested for the track day trophy, which I've now decided to enter. I think in the last video I was only talking about doing Roadsports, but now I've decided I want to try and cram as much racing in as I can in the first year, get that novice cross off as soon as possible, knowing that see at each race the maximum experience you're going to get is 45 minutes of racing, so I want to get as much seat time as I possibly can, and I'd rather that was in race situation where I'm learning racecraft rather than just how to drive around a track on a track day. In terms of its power to weight and the format of the race is very, very similar to Roadsports, with just a couple of odd little quirks between the two, things like how the pit stops are timed and how the races start. So with the stuff that's been cancelled, managed to, as soon as the credits were loaded into my account, I've booked onto I think probably the first track day at Donington when we get out of this, so I think that's the 1st of April. And then the 2nd of April, hopefully Silverstone will release some test days for the national circuit, and one will be on the 2nd, so planning on booking onto that if it's not a ridiculous amount of money. And then 3rd of April is the first race with Roadsports, so actually I will get very little chance to shake this car down actually on a circuit and do things like fine-tune the setup. So first race will very much just be getting used to the car, trying to stay out of everyone's way really. I'm going to use it for every trip to the supermarket, at least to see if there's any issues with road driving. Obviously you can't drive it as quickly as you would on a track, so won't really be able to fine-tune the setup, but hopefully I'll see if there's any big issues with it. in that time. Any reliability issues or stuff like that. So I'll just ping the electrics on, show what's going on here, and then flick the accessories on. There we go. Rear view camera pops up. So I'll zoom you in there. You can see what's going on. So that's mounted in a shark fin on the roof. The reason we're putting it on the top of the roof is hopefully that'll let me, because it's quite a low car, see over some of the saloons or hatchbacks that are racing, rather than if I'm just using the interior mirror, all I'm going to see is the eyes of the guy behind me. So it'd be quite good to see if there's someone about to overtake them and dart up the side that I wouldn't normally be able to see. Also chuck these little convex mirrors on the side that are adjustable. See, with the wings on the seat and the hands and everything on it, and the harness, you can't really lean forward and do a shoulder check as you would normally do if you had a 3-point on. So just trying to get as much vision as possible, and then gone for the standard convex mirror there to get a bit of extra vision out through the passenger window on the side there. Should be quite good. This quick release, can't recommend this enough. Originally bought the Motor Corsa one, which was a decent price and was fairly easy to do when you just relax and you're sat in the car and you're just pushing it on straight, but it was a pain in the arse to get it aligned. So you could align it kind of round the clock face okay, but if you weren't perfect in this kind of direction, you just couldn't slide it on, whereas this BG Racing one is really good. So lines with big ball bearings in there, and this is now latched unlocked, so you can slide this on in basically any orientation, and then when you rotate it round it clicks into place. Perfect. So when you're stressed and overheating and everything, and you've just done a driver change, you can always get the wheel on in the right place. Little kitchen timer for when we're on track days, so I can try and do some stints of similar lengths to the race, get used to being in the car for 45 minutes at a time. I think normally when I'm tracking road cars it would be sort of 20 minutes stints at maximum. So I want to try and get used to being out there for a while, see what happens. Then, as I said earlier, I've got my radio push to talk on there, which is just on a little cord cable, goes into a little 3.5mm jack plug down there, so there's enough slack in that the wheel can come off and go up on the dashboard without having to unplug it. But if I do need to take it out, it's easy to just unplug that. Got my little Bluetooth GPS up there for Harry's lap timer on here, because that will do 10 Hertz or 5 Hertz, whereas the phone only does 1, so that's a heck of a lot more accurate. And then the OBD link as well, also Bluetooth, to get engine parameters in for logging on lap timer. Fitted a 6-speed gearbox because this car was originally it's a non-sport, but it is a 2-litre, so it came with the limited slip diff and a 5-speed box. So I've swapped for a 6-speed box because the ratios work out a lot better. I only got the 5-speed knob, unfortunately, and I do keep trying to put it into 6th to go backwards, which doesn't work. But I'm still running the 5-speed diff. We'll see how we get on with that. That will give a bit of an advantage at low speed because it brings the gearing down, but we'll see if it's an issue at places like Silverstone, where at the top of the straight I might end up running out of gears versus anyone who's running the 6-speed diff, but they're cheap as chips really to replace. Power in the back here for a couple of GoPro mounts there. I need to get slightly longer cables here so that I can run them in a better way than over the top of the extinguishers. And then this Fire Marshal kit came with 8 nozzles, so you get 4 for inside the cabin, 4 for in the engine. You have to install them like that so that it's balanced and you don't end up dumping all of your extinguishing in one compartment and not the other. So we've got coming up, teeing off at the back, we're sending 1 nozzle at where the fuel pump is in the hatch there, 1 nozzle at the back of the seat, and then it comes around behind the dash. We've got 1 nozzle on the left here, down to the left leg, and then a little nozzle down here. It's probably too dark for you to see. So outside we've put the livery on. We've got the team name on there now. We've got all the wheels, tyres, brakes, all the bushings have been done. I've replaced the rear links, because it's a multi-link suspension at the rear. I've replaced those rear links twice now. The first set didn't seem quite right, and the guys at Blink pointed out something that, to be honest, when I was installing them, I thought that doesn't seem right. They've come out and had to replace them with another lot. So it's now full hard race rear suspension links. Super Pro bushes in the front wishbones and in the rear hubs where we've got a bushing. Super Pro anti-roll bars front and rear from the MX5, but I've got a set of white line anti-roll bars for an RX8, which I think a lot of guys in America run much stiffer anti-roll bars, and I don't know if that's because they assume stiffer equals better, but lots of people seem to rave about them over there, and you don't really hear people talking about them here. So I got that set on the Black Friday deal because it was really good price. So I'm kind of keeping them in the back pocket as another sort of tuning thing if I do decide I want to go down that route. For the time being, I've just got the Super Pro ones on because I know that they shouldn't give any weird handling traits. I don't want to make it too stiff, which I think can be an issue. We're running the Meister R Club Race coilovers, which had a slight issue setting up on the rear. Couldn't get the rear as low as I wanted with both of the locking collars in place. Because it's a very compact damper, and to try and get as much travel on the damper as they can at the back, all of the rings end up stacking up. There's also a helper spring in there as well to help with getting that travel. But with everything installed and it all wound as low as it would go, it was still too high. So I've had to take the lower locking collar off, which gives me another sort of 8mm of drop, and I've actually locked the threaded damper body into the bottom cup, so I'm not worried about that coming loose. So it's actually locked in against itself, but it just meant that all of the corner weighting had to be done with the front end rather than being able to do a little bit diagonal corners at the front and rear. And then with the power that it made on the dyno, I think I could do with losing another sort of 10 to 20 kilos really to be right on the limit for the Roadsports classes. But with the way that Track Day Trophy's organised, I'll be just under the limit at the moment with the current weight. Do I spend a load of money getting lightweight parts, replacing the fire extinguisher, maybe getting a lighter seat to sit in the right place for Roadsports, and then have to run a little bit of ballast or a bit of extra fuel in the tank to get into Track Day Trophy? To be honest, I'm thinking just go and get the first year done, get the experience, because I think being basically, although I've done a lot of track days, I'm a complete race novice, so I think I'm probably not going to notice the difference between an extra 10 or 20 kilos really. To be honest, that money on the lightweight parts would probably be better spent just doing a few more track days or a couple more races, getting that experience, and then looking for the incremental gains with losing a bit more weight off the car. If you've got any questions on any of the build, chuck it in the comments below, and I'll get back to you if there's anything that you want to see in any more detail, or any explanations on how I did some of the stuff. I'm more than happy to answer or put some videos together for you guys. I know with some stuff it can be a bit tricky trying to find the right information, so if I can be of help to anyone, I'm more than happy to be. But until the next time, which hopefully, fingers crossed, will be when we are on the first track day at Donington Park on the 1st of April. So until then, goodbye.